The girl who's doing OnlyFans, these men are not going to come to your funeral.
Because of the common cold, you're not allowed to leave your house, for example. We're going to put you out of business and they wreck you.
Whether you're taking money or you're accepting gifts, it's like prostitution.
Yeah, the same women who think empowerment is showing my ass and breasts, getting a Chanel bag and holding a champagne glass on a private jet. I'm empowerment. That's not empowering. For me, that is prostitution, like you say. Have you ever seen an issue with him? I want to know, as a woman. Now you're on the camera. This is going to go out.
Go on, tell the world I'm horrible.
You've got to both have your opportunity.
Smart. They've indoctrinated women into thinking that freedom comes from expression of sexual liberation,
100%.
but that only makes you a commodity for men. They think that the world should think the way they think. It's no different to racism.
So let's have your opinions on this man. Andrew Lubnar. It's a pleasure. This is a first for me, having two ladies sit in this podcast room. I'm new to this. I usually have MMA fighters, boxers, Andrew Tate, personal trainers. But why this is important for me to have you two ladies here, purely because I think it's about time women also have a platform. And they do, I think, in life, but I don't think they choose to want to talk. I think they shy away, maybe peer pressure, maybe they say the wrong thing. And I think society in a way now outlaws that, where women are afraid to say, well, we agree with the old ways of life or whatever it may be. So an easier way, I'm not here to do introductions. I'm not as educated as some of you here. So I want to introduce just to my followers and viewers your names and what you do for a living. So first, let's start with Lubna over here. Please explain to us, my other guests, what you do and what you're known for in Dubai.
So I'm a business journalist. I think I'm known for pissing off a lot of corporates and businesses. So I do a lot of investigative journalism. I have my own new magazine now. I worked at Arabian Business for about 7 years. And now I just launched my own magazine, Frankly Magazine. And we have our weekly podcast, Behind Closed Doors.
Actually, a very good podcast. I was a guest on there a little under a month ago. It was superb. You've got to stay tuned. We're going to post that before this comes out. And we'll put all the links of both the ladies' socials and everything in the bio. So Lubna, why do you piss people off? In what way? What do you mean by that? As in?
Well, I just do a lot of investigative journalism, and I'm also just very opinionated. So I guess I call businesses out when they do something wrong. And we were just talking about a really interesting topic the other day. This Saudi company put out an ad for Emiratis to hire them as sandwich makers.
Oh, wow.
So obviously the Emirati community got very pissed off about that. And it started a huge debate. So I wrote the story. And then it even went to the authorities, and the authorities opened an investigation into the company.
Oh, wow.
Right, so everyone close the gym today, because Lubna might see something she doesn't like and I might be shut down. Sadia, over to you. Can you just introduce yourself to us and Lubna herself?
Yeah.
And just to be honest, guys, this is fresh. They don't know each other.
Yeah.
We've not rehearsed. There's no questions, and that's how I want to do it, just for you guys. So it's real. So please.
So I'm Sadia. I was formerly a psychology teacher. I taught in London and Dubai. And so I'm a psychologist by trade. And then just recently, about a year or two ago, that I started doing more therapy online. And so now I kind of just do a lot of couples counseling, more just therapy in general. And I kind of do a lot of stuff on social media, just kind of trying to normalize therapy for people who wouldn't normally be open to therapy. I know you don't really like the idea. We're going to talk about this. He doesn't really love the idea of therapy, but the goal is to kind of make people who wouldn't normally go for therapy to kind of be a little bit more open to the idea if I make it in little snippets that are slightly more relatable. And so that's what I predominantly do on social media and on YouTube and stuff like that.
That's interesting, because I see you on social media a lot.
Yeah.
And I think social media is a key. I was speaking to Lubna before on her podcast. Like, she herself has a great message, and I think I'm a father of 2 girls, as you know, and I said, there's no role models or women I can see who they aspire to be, who I'd like them to aspire to be.
Yeah.
No intellects, okay,
They're too busy being influencers, I think.
influencers or getting likes and views, or, sorry to say, shaking ass or OnlyFans.
Yeah.
You're free to do what you want, no problem, but who can girls aspire to? So when people get on the whole train, you've got these Andrew Tates, or you've got these Trumps, or whatever, or Vladimir Putin's, but I mean, it's better than drug dealers. It's better than people used to worship. You watch Narcos, we love it, but people are worshipping Pablo Escobar. I mean, so you don't mind that, but you want to go against the guys speaking about politics or strengthening men.
That,
But I
that
think
was one of my motivations for going on social media. I just got so bored of seeing beautiful women, absolutely stunning women, but not even knowing what they sound like. I didn't have a clue what they think, what they might be thinking about any issue. So it kind of made women a bit dehumanized. I have no idea what women are thinking. I just know what they're looking like. So I thought, let me try a way of introducing the idea that women do have opinions. Women are opinionated, they are intelligent, and you can have conversations with them rather than just staring at them. And I just want to kind of push women away from that, even though I can see the allure. I can see why women go down that route because there's so much money to be made, but it's just not sustainable.
But then you can't be mad at the men, right, for judging these women
No.
because you are dehumanizing yourself, I feel. So, and I just feel we've just become really champions of victimizing ourselves. You know what I mean?
I truly, I totally agree with that. I mean, like you said, a lot of women will say, "Oh, he's doing that. He's a misogynist, or she's portraying this." But then do something about it. Let's speak. Why do you think people, of women or influencers, are afraid to say what they feel? Like, I know you're not. Like, that's hence why we touch base, because as people know, I brought Andrew Tate into the UAE a few months back to do a talk. It wasn't cancelled as per se. We had made a decision not to do the talk purely of the respect of the country.
Right.
I didn't want the Western media to say, "Oh, a misogynist in a country which promotes this and that." So I thought, as a respect to the country, which has done so good for me, let's delay and let's warm him to the people. But Lubna was the only people who, she wrote an article in Frankly magazine, a very good article. She's reached out since day one, and it's not whether she supports or not. She's about letting people speak the truth and having a say, and also she sees this whole kind of like agenda in a way. I mean, what was your view on that whole scenario and what was going on with the Tate train?
I think first of all, the problem with a lot of Arab women, I'm going to talk about Arab women first and foremost, they're really trying to have this Western kind of lifestyle, you know what I mean? They see it in the movies, and I understand because you're consuming it all the time, music videos, Netflix, this and that. They've become really confused because they're like, well, I want to have a good husband, I want to get married, I want to have a family, but then you're out in the club, you're posting, you know, thirst traps, whatever, bikini shots on Instagram. Nobody's gonna take you seriously if you are doing it. So I feel at the same time, you know, they're going away from their traditions, their values, their family, and focusing on things that really don't matter in the long run. You know what I mean? You can go to the club, you can have fun, but what is it actually doing? It's actually doing more damage to you than good. You know what I mean? So I think we really have a generation of very confused girls. Like, oh, I didn't have my freedom for so long. We didn't have rights for so long. So now I just want to do anything and everything I want.
There's no limit.
Because the men were doing it, so now we have to do it too. No, we don't really have to do it because it's doing more damage to us. Like, if I post a bikini picture of myself on Instagram, who's really enjoying this bikini picture? Am I gonna be like, oh, I feel so good about myself? Well, if you feel good about yourself, you don't need to post it for old creeps to be looking at your bikini pictures, you know what I mean? So I just feel like they're confused overall, and they're focusing a lot on looks and not doing anything with their lives. Influencers.
Yeah, they've indoctrinated women, and they've done it really smart. They've indoctrinated women into thinking that freedom comes from expression of sexual liberation,
100%.
but that only makes you a commodity for men. That you're actually becoming more oppressed in the process, because if I'm there making a living out of my body, essentially my consumers are men. I have to meet a man's standard. Right now I don't make, or never, inshallah never, but I don't make a living from my body. So therefore I have the freedom to look how I want to look. But if I had an OnlyFans, or if I was out posting thirst traps, I would have to bear in mind a man's preference with every decision I make. Clothes, makeup, body, BBLs, all of this stuff. I would have to think, what do men like? And I'd have to cater to that. So this freedom, this illusion of freedom, is actually just making you far more oppressed to male dominance, and you become a product of male preferences, and it's more embarrassing than anything. It's the opposite of liberating. And what I always say to people who kind of suggest that the East is oppressed and stuff, and I said, but measured life satisfaction, who's happier, the girl that's got an OnlyFans or doing porn, or the woman who's living in Kashmir, where I'm from, with her kids and family and has a purpose? The girl who's doing OnlyFans, these men are not going to come to your funeral. No one's going to care. Whereas that woman who's looking after her children, she's got a legacy, and there's nothing more beautiful than that. And you're telling me my culture is oppressive when I find your culture humiliating. And so that's where my kind of anti-feminism came from, because I was just constantly being told that I'm oppressed when I could not feel more liberated when I don't post like that, and I don't live that lifestyle, and I don't drink, and I don't frivolously like date or anything like that. So I was just tired of being told that I'm oppressed when I feel far more liberated than these women who are genuinely oppressed through the idea of catering to men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's worrying is, like you say, I see ladies much at a maturer age struggling to find men, and vice versa. And I think the whole family kind of concept of wife, husband, kids, you know, working, the white picket fence, the trips to Disneyland or IMG World in Dubai, it's seen as they're trying to put this stereotype on women. Oh, you're going to be the slave to the man. He says this. He's dominant alpha. I mean, through the thousands of years we've lived in society, that's been the way. And look how we've like survived. Now, it seems like, okay, it's 2022. This is a new agenda. Let's try it.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's a bit risky? I mean, I have female friends I know come to the gym and really good ladies, and they're struggling to find men because the men are chasing, like you say, these thirst traps or the trash because it's easy.
Yeah.
Here's a gift, no strings attached. Here's a Chanel bag.
Yeah.
Do what I want
That's
when
a
I want.
price also, you know what I mean?
It comes
I'm,
with a
I'm,
price.
I'm gonna be completely honest. You know, whether you're taking money or you're accepting gifts, it's like prostitution.
It's
Like, let's just say it how it is. You know
And there's
what I
nothing.
mean?
We're
I
not
totally
judging
agree.
it.
I
Like,
totally
it is
agree.
What it is. Just own it. But what I would say is, I do have to hold the men a bit accountable for this as well. And the reason I say this is, 10, 20 years ago, a woman would know that if she is too loose and she's too out there, men were going to lose interest. But now, if I posted provocative pictures, I'd have far more offers and far more attention. I'd be flown out left, right, and centre. Whereas a girl that actually is well behaved gets nothing. So you can see why young, vulnerable girls are thinking the route to a successful man is through this behaviour.
I will disagree. Being around men, and I'm a Muslim man, and a lot of the men, how they behave, I hate, I despise. Also, it's trashy. It's a two-way thing. Running to clubs, drinking, spending a lot of money on the table just to have women pose. It's cringe.
Yeah.
But these men, what you see, and unfortunately, a lot of the guys will be listening. They see that as a fun. They have their fun. They use these women, abuse them, give the gifts behind their parents' back. For example, rich Arabs or rich certain guys here. But when it comes to marrying, they'll go to their mother or they'll go for the, which I hate, the virgin, the good girl.
Yeah, but
which
then,
also annoys me. If you're not a man, a virgin, or you're not a chastised man, as we say in the Quran, you don't deserve to be with a woman. Why should you be running around being dirty and then go, I want that girl in the village, or a beautiful girl from Syria or Jordan, bring her, and that poor girl's going to suffer. She's at home. So it is a two-way thing. But these girls are used, and they should know it's just for fun. But they accept it in a way because I think they want the fast track. No one wants to work McDonald's hard or Nando's or be a PA, work herself up for a small salary. They want that quick, I want to sit on the private jet with that wine glass, that pick, what everyone wants, or I want to be in the Maldives. So they're asking for it. In a way, yes, I feel sorry for those women who are the innocent good girls as well. But I also feel sorry for guys who are looking for a good wife now because it's very hard to find them.
Very few and far. But there's no motivation to be that good girl now, because now you're going to think I'm that good girl that gets with the guy, but he's still going to be spending money on the hoe that he met on Instagram. So when men are investing in these women, back in the day they would use that girl but never speak to her again, but now they still invest in her. Whether it's bags, whether it's shoes, whether it's flying them out, when a woman sees that woman is getting an investment from you, it lowers the motivation for women to want to be that successful, that traditional girl. And so I think men need to be mindful as well where they are placing their investment, because that's going to determine female motivation.
But Sadi, I'm sorry, I kind of disagree with you, because we're still going back to, it's the men, it's the men, it's the men. It's these women that are offering that to the men. You know what I mean?
Because there's a demand for it.
Of course there's demand, but it doesn't mean that you need to do that and screw over the rest of the women. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Women are today getting really pissed off. Like, you know, these influencers, so-called influencers, are everywhere.
So cool.
You know? Sorry, like, I'm brutally honest,
it's
but
true.
I've got to be. And that's why the good girl, sure. I mean, why should a young girl right now strive to become, let's say, an engineer and get paid 5,000 dirhams a month, for example, whereas an influencer gets paid whatever 200K for
one post,
whatever, one day or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I understand, but again, it's the women. Like, these are the female influencers. So stop doing that. If all the influencers stop posting all these bikini traps, I think that the men would start having to work harder
But
for
do you
it.
not think that if the men were not following these girls and paying these girls, there would be no motivation to post like that?
It's a
I think
two-way
it's
thing, isn't
two-way
it?
thing. I
But at
can't
the same
put it all
time,
on
what she's
women.
saying is the women, it's like, for example, it's luckily it's banned here, like drugs. If you keep feeding the crack in the society, in the ghetto, the more addiction's going to come.
Absolutely.
So halt that, let them go through the rehab, then it's going to go. So you'll keep pushing this agenda
But
of.
wouldn't you not
It's
give
basically.
the drugs if there was no consumers?
But
I
there's
wouldn't be
always
a
going
drug
to be. It's an
dealer in
addiction, though. But
Dubai.
you
There's
can
no
start.
consumers in Dubai.
Yeah, but you can start an addiction from anything. You literally can start, and it's one of the like natural instincts of a man.
Yeah.
Like everyone has their build up. The woman
Yeah.
is more procreation, loving, motherly. It's a natural instinct.
It's
You can say
instinct,
all you
yeah.
want about the movement of LGBTQ,
Yeah.
but the woman is born with certain instincts.
Absolutely.
A kid falls over, you probably go, "Oh, come here," or you'll have that touch. Even with my daughters, you meet them,
Yeah.
you'd have a different touch to my friends. Go, "Hello," like, it's like a ball.
Yeah.
It's just the way we are. Men
Yeah.
like to go hunting,
Yeah.
protect. She's mine. She's my wife. She's my
Yeah.
girlfriend. Don't harm. And the woman's more loving. The university. So, in a way, you're feeling it. But I think, do you not think, Lubna, in a way? I mean, these girls fall into this at a young teenage age because who else do they see as, like,
Yeah.
as soon as they get these phones now, this is a new
Yeah.
generation, not like we were born.
Yeah.
It's different. We never had these. So, straight on Instagram, Cardi B, Kim K,
Yeah,
whatever.
That's nonsense.
So they think that is normal, that is good. So in a way, they're kind of stuck. It's a
Yeah.
it's a vicious
And
cycle
I
now.
don't
Yeah.
blame. I think the thing is, it's really easy to be judgmental when you come from a great family and a great home. But say if I was a 15-year-old girl who's been abused, doesn't have much money, doesn't have anything like that, I'm so vulnerable, and that vulnerability can be easily exploited by male attention and male investment. Now, if we removed male investment, women wouldn't have to go towards that as well. I don't think it's all women's fault or all men's fault. I'm not trying to blame the men, but it's a societal issue. There's a hypersexualized society, men including, women including. Everything is so sexualized. Women are learning that's a currency. And when we have opinions, we have to think about it from the lens of a really vulnerable individual. And that vulnerable girl that doesn't have a father figure, doesn't have money, doesn't know where she's going to eat the next day, and she knows that I can either go to university and get nothing, or I can post on Instagram and a guy will probably send me a plane ticket to Dubai.
I agree. There are these cases. I agree.
Yeah,
Who've been
it's
abused, and that's
heartbreaking.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I'm saying now, I'm seeing it in the Middle East. I'm seeing it in
Where it
regions
doesn't need
where
to
they've
happen,
got
yeah.
fathers, mothers, good
Yeah.
families, Muslim, Christian, Coptic,
Yeah.
whatever backgrounds, very educated. I know the
Mm-hmm.
fathers were. I see these very well educated. They've got drivers. You know, I've been here for 15 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've been born and raised here. You'll be noticing these things. My point is, I think women responsibility also to have more women like yourselves. Like I was speaking to Lubna before. You need more of a platform. Whether they're trying to hold you back for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's the case. But my two daughters are 3.5. I'm scared. Who are they going to look up to?
Yeah.
I think
Who?
it's all about pride, right? Vulnerable or not. You have so many women in Palestine who are so poor, but you know they would never do the things that girls do here. It's all about having pride and dignity. It's really about that. You know what I mean? It's a character thing, I think. But I do agree
I
that
think it's a culture thing more, because that same woman, if she grew up in a different country, whether it's like Morocco or something, they do turn to that quite easily with the same religious backgrounds, because it's a cultural influence. I think we're overestimating the individual and underestimating environment, because even since I've been in Dubai, I don't know if I should say, but I have noticed that there'll be girls that are well educated, good jobs and so on and so forth, and they'll be doing everything themselves, but then you'll get a girl from a certain different types of background with no job, no nothing, and a guy is paying for her rent in the address. What makes sense to a woman who's just trying to make it? And so if men withdraw their investment from these types of women, there'll be more motivation. So it needs to be a two-way thing.
But that's never gonna happen, you know. Like I agree with you, but that's never gonna happen. Let's face it,
if
you
it's
know,
not
and
going to happen,
it's
then
on
women
us.
aren't going to change.
No, I'm sorry, I
But
disagree.
have women
because we have
through
to.
history have
Yeah.
until it's only been recent.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Recently, this spike of being a housewife, being a wife, doing this. You're controlled. It's domestic abuse. You're locked up. It's like this agenda. You shouldn't be that. And I've noticed it's in the last 6 or 7 years really drastically. This feminism's. I'm for feminism, like, as in women work, women being strong, women having a say, but to a limit as well, as mentioned.
Yeah.
But there's this new movement, this woke feminism. We don't need men, this, that. It's just gone sick, woke, and then it's like...
It's drifting towards LGBT.
No, but
yeah.
it is drifting to
Yeah.
this LGBT stance. And also, I noticed it a lot more during this World Cup announcement. the West's stance on what they think Arabs are, the Middle East, and
Well,
it was
it's,
highlighted in a crazy way.
Well, it's just psychological colonialism. They think that the world should think the way they think. It's no different to racism. They simply have a set of morals, and if you don't abide by them, you're barbaric and you're not progressive. And they are happy to cancel out entire continents. The whole of Africa is barbaric. The whole of Asia is barbaric. Why? Because you decide the moral. And that's just horrendous. I was so insulted by the reaction to Qatar and the LGBT. I was so deeply insulted, and I couldn't understand how unbelievably racist it was. The idea that white people determine what is progressive, and if they're not on Sparta's side, we are just barbaric. Anyone that agrees with that stance is just a racist. There's no two ways about it. Do we have a guest?
I'm not sure you can open. My point back into that is I think we've got a guest was going live.
Yes.
So let's have your opinions on this man. Andrew Misalia, Andrew Lubnar.
Nice to meet you.
Hi. Sorry, I got overexcited, didn't I? You caught me all excited. How are you?
Now you can go into this conversation more now. So
okay,
I didn't want to tell him this is purely unplanned.
Yeah, we were actually
They don't
supposed to
know
meet
this.
today, but we couldn't get it all sorted. But we made it in the end.
We made
Praise
it
be
in the
to
end.
God, we got it in
That's
the end.
right, it's
We got it.
Fate.
As you walked in, we were just discussing how women tend to become OnlyFans. They push this agenda rather than the mother, the wife, the nice housewife, or a woman to become an engineer. Lubna was saying, I believe truly it's women's fault. They blame men, but women are giving them in. They're making it easy on them.
Can I say
Yeah.
something? I really have a message to all the young girls out there. Okay, it's not about, let's not do the blame game, because it's not going to do anything for anyone. It's you've got the power. Okay, this is your life. You've got the power. My mother always told me that the man is the head and the woman is the neck. You can be smart, you can be educated. Don't waste your time. Don't take away your power by just going on Instagram, being an influencer, not doing anything with your life. And don't play the victim. Be nobody's victim. You know what I mean? That's That's my thought.
And
But-
I was a bit more. It's also the men's fault because they invest in these.
It's always the men's
It's-
fault,
no,
isn't it?
No, wallah. I would say.
Wallah.
Wallah.
Voila! Doesn't mean it's the all truth, yeah.
It's a societal issue. If I'm a girl and if I'm a vulnerable 15-year-old girl with no money and I can either go to school and get a long education, or there's a guy that's going to pay for my flights and my rent, if I just post a thirst trap, you're speaking to vulnerable people, not just educated people in society.
Yes, but you
Yeah.
have a choice. Do you die screaming like a little girl, or do you die with dignity?
Can I just intercept with one thing?
Some people are in survival
You made a
mode.
good point about 5 minutes back. You did say you go to like Jordan, Israel, Afghanistan, or India, or some villages. The women are poor. They have nothing. Maybe no fathers have been killed. They have nothing. Yet you don't see them act that way.
But they have a different form of what.
You know, that's a
they have a
like.
different form of that. They marry, even if a guy's 20 years older than him, they'll marry into him when she's 15 years old because they're in survival mode. So I think what we're neglecting is if men stop investing in these girls, these OnlyFans girls, and start investing in the good girls, there's more motivation to be good. But if I was a 14-year-old in this day and age, I'd be like, I'm just going to work out and get a BBL and get a shortcut.
It's valid. It's a good point.
But society's degenerate. It's not men and women. Society's degenerate. It depends on what part of the world, of course, as well. But especially in the Western world, there are such benefits for degeneracy, and there's no stigma against it. There's none of the stigma. Even the things you're discussing and talking about, I agree with you completely. But a lot of these girls don't feel any shame. They don't feel any ounce of shame.
And it's a job. It's no different to a job. We've normalized it to the point where it just feels like a job for these women. And I think that when I was saying to them when I was younger and before, if you were known as in my culture, Pakistani, you grew up in Luton, so
well.
if I even walked into a restaurant with a boy, it would be like, oh my God, she's such a slag. Like straight away, I'd get a label and I wouldn't be able to get married. But now these girls are getting married to rappers. They're having kids with rappers. A stripper is getting married. So what motivation is left for young women when men are dropping their standards in terms of promiscuity? They don't mind a promiscuous woman anymore.
I don't think men are ever going to stop wanting to see bikini pictures. You know what I mean? It's not going to change. That's why I'm saying it's up to us. Like I'm saying, we really need to make the effort because we are the mothers. You know what I mean? We're the. I just feel like we're taking away from our power. And I agree with you in what you're saying because yes, a lot of girls don't have opportunities X and Y. that's why I think it's all about education.
Yeah.
You know, you find a lot of wrong things going on in society, mostly in the poorer areas as well. So
Yeah.
it is really all about education, I
Yeah,
think.
but I do think that's a privilege.
I think
Not
that's.
the world
I think the
has
term is like
access.
Andrew's mentioned before on podcast. Godless.
Godless
society.
There's a huge split. What we're
Yeah.
discussing here is not universal across the planet, right?
Yeah.
The things we're discussing here and the idea of women, like you're saying, having a reputation and promiscuity being frowned upon, all those things make perfect sense here. The idea of a woman sticking to education and not getting a bad reputation and working hard, that makes sense here. But in Miami, it's godless. It's completely, it's a godless city.
If I don't believe in God, praise be to God, I do. But if I don't have the idea that God's watching me, what motivation as a young girl with a great body and great looks would I have to go the long route to getting success when there's a man willing to pay me 2-3 grand just for a feet pick?
I think
You know, so why don't we address the men in not being?
But are we all
giving
going to
into
be
you
sheep?
women?
Like, for example, and a lot of people say he has money. He has it all. Why would you become Muslim when you have everything? Why would he want to limit himself in a way? So surely God's given us brains or ways to think. What is
Yeah, it's
life
not
about?
just-
What's
it's
the
not
purpose?
just
Sun
God
exists as
watching,
well,
but
yeah.
it's not just as God watching. I'm gonna go to hell. You know what I mean? I think it goes beyond that. I mean, you still have a brain. God created you
Yeah.
with a brain.
Yeah.
You should still have principles without that. But I think even when it comes to, yes, education is a privilege.
Yeah.
But nowadays the real influence is on social media. And any kid in Gaza, there's an amazing rapper in Gaza. God bless him. Like, he's on social media. He's an influencer. You know what I mean? Even if a kid in Gaza has access to social media, then we can have influence.
Yeah.
That's why we need more women role models.
Yeah, definitely need that.
And then the influencers will also become less and less because girls will see, well, you know what? I do have another chance. I do have another option.
yeah.
But since I think the broader question is, I'd like to ask you two very intelligent ladies, why do you think society is trying to program women to act this way? Because I believe society is trying to, especially in the West,
Yeah.
it's trying very hard. We're talking about the advantages of a girl doing OnlyFans, for example. Yes, her life can improve. But the broader question is, why is all the culture, all of society, the matrix as a whole, trying to destroy the baseline morality of humans, men and women? Because they're trying to convince men not to be men. Everything that was traditionally masculine, everything I've said has got me canceled. They tried to ruin my life for saying a man should be a man. And if you say a woman should be a woman and she should protect herself and protect her access to herself and she should not allow men to just view her naked, etc., then you're somehow demonized. And they want to put Cardi B in place instead, where she's saying that everything that a woman can get naked and that's fantastic, and anyone who disagrees with it is it slut shaming? Is that
Yeah,
called a
slut
thing?
shaming.
So why is society doing this to men and women? That's the real question.
But I think if you're breaking down the home, the best and quickest way to do that is attacking the woman. And there's more money in lonely, sad women. We
Yeah.
consume everything. So if I get to a certain age and I'm not married, I'm going to be more likely to be on prescription drugs. I'm going to be more likely to turn to surgery. I'm going to be more likely to just indulge. Whereas when you have a purpose, those things all take a back burner. So that's why I think it's completely designed to make more money and to destroy the home and make people dependent on, then your God becomes social media. When you don't have a God and you don't have a stable home, your God becomes society. The laws determine your morality. And the quicker they can get you to believe that God doesn't exist and the law is your source of morality, the quicker they can control you.
I think there's definitely an agenda for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. But I think the only way to fight it is to stick to, to have discipline, to not follow, like, last year I made a decision. I went on my Instagram. I was like, okay, I myself am following some influencers. So I was like, unfollow.
Yeah.
Just be more aware of your lifestyle and your surroundings and your friends and what you're consuming on Netflix. You know what I mean?
Do you guys follow girls on Instagram?
No, they fixed that for me
No, but
by deleting me from the platform.
Do you have it? He only has MySpace.
Yeah, myspace.com. That's what I do.
Honestly,
Bringing back
tell
my-
me,
Did
I
you
only
used to
follow my
her?
wife.
Oh.
Yeah, and actually Lubna now because with the podcast and probably you, I think.
Yeah.
And that's from work relationship.
Yeah,
You can
work
tell.
related, yeah.
It's nothing more than that, and it's
Did you
business.
when you first came on social media?
I never have.
No?
I've never. You would have never seen me ever follow FHM girls. It's like never.
Really? You just used to go straight to the message?
No.
No.
I'm a Muslim. I practice my religion to
Yeah.
the extent that I can, and for me, even if you were to do sins, I think I'd be ashamed to be public about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
As I'm like, you'd be ashamed. Everything's for privacy. These women, like you said, they're proud of showing booty. A man men have always been okay, like you said, through society. like our dads came as freshies on the boats to the UK, saw a white girl, blonde hair. They probably perved into strip clubs, but it wasn't you don't share it. It's just like a thing you do. But women now, making it a public thing is like we're celebrating porn in a way which was out, like it was seen as shameful only a few years ago. So that's what's.
Well, yeah, I don't want to take responsibility away from men, but women have always been the gatekeepers. Men have always been men. I think if you look at any period of history in any part of the world, no matter what the culture, if men had unlimited access to sex, they'd take it. I think it's biological for men to be that way and try and reproduce as many women as possible. I think that women have always been the gatekeepers. They've always been the ones who are saying no. And if women break down the gates and no longer say no, then they're going to have promiscuous societies in godless cities like Miami, like I just described. And I agree with you in terms of them deliberately trying to destroy the family home. They are doing that. Part of it's for consumerism because they want consumerism to be our gods. That's absolutely part of it. But another reason is I think a lot of the plans that people have who are in charge of the world across the next 100 years are truly draconian and they're truly evil. And the things they're going to plan to do to people and the lives we're going to be forced to live. And if you destroy the family unit, if you destroy the idea of standing up, the problem is if a man has a family, he'll die for it. If a man's woman doesn't listen to him, his kids he doesn't talk to, when they come along with these draconian rules and bullshit, you're kind of like, oh, whatever. I'll just move. I'll just move country, or I'll just leave it, or I don't care, right? They're trying to destroy the resistance and the resilience amongst the population so they can make slaves of us all. And I think that the family unit is a big part of that.
And
yeah, that's right.
Woman is the best way to do it.
Well, absolutely, because if you have a woman who's truly ride or die, truly by your side, and kids who truly love you, you're going to stand on that porch with a shotgun and say, no, you're not coming in this house. But when you don't have that, it gets to a point where it's like, not my fight, not my problem. And it actually extrapolates, not just from the family unit, it goes bigger and bigger. This is the reason why in Western societies, nobody knows each other. Nobody likes each other. If you live in a street in England, you don't know anyone. You don't know. You can live there your whole life. You don't talk to nobody. And then even if you do start to meet people, you don't like. He's that color, don't like him. He's from there, don't like him. He likes that kind of car, don't like him. Nobody likes each other. Society is completely degraded. There's no baseline morality. There's no unifying factor. There's absolutely nothing. And what happens is as soon as the law breaks down, if you look at even in America when there's natural disaster, as soon as the law is gone, as soon as the police can't turn up, it becomes. They start shooting at each other. It's a free-for-all, right?
We saw in Seattle, didn't we? After the BLM whole
we saw after Hurricane Katrina, they're shooting at the cops, all this stuff.
They took over like a courthouse in Seattle. It was just like lawlessness.
So they destroy the family unit to destroy the town, to build these societies where everybody's innately selfish. You may be scared of the law, so you behave a little bit, but everybody's absolutely innately selfish. So when they come along with complete insanity, draconian laws, where they say, because of the common cold, you're not allowed to leave your house, for example, we're going to put you out of business, and they wreck you.
Common cold.
Everyone sits at home and doesn't do shit.
And follows.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, well, not my problem, none of it. But when you actually care about your family, you care about your community, you care about your town, and it becomes much harder to control people because the globalists and their agenda is to make slaves of us all. That's what they're trying to do. And it's hard to make a slave of a man who has a family and believes in protecting his family.
But if 2020 taught us anything, they can easily do it. There's so many sheep in the world. Can I say that?
You can say what you want.
I was so disappointed.
Do you know what I realized from that? For years, I used to think, how did the Holocaust happen? How did he convince an entire country to think like that? When I saw 2020 take care of this, I couldn't believe how easy it is.
Completely.
It's so easy. And I felt insane because when I would say to people, this is insane, they would look at me like I was an alien. And even now that I feel vindicated, they've never come to say sorry to me. All the people that came for me, but you know,
we saw
at least we saw the difference.
With his cancellation. Like that overnight.
Overnight, crazy.
And everyone, all of a sudden, people don't even know what he's cancelled for. I see a video, have you seen on YouTube or TikTok, there's a guy who goes around to campuses and he asks women, random women, what do you think of Andrew Tate? And why do you hate him? What's a misogynist? First they go, oh, we hate him, he sucks, like, you know? Then they go, oh, because he said this. What did he say? They can't ever mention one thing, and they can't define what a misogynist even is.
Well,
so there's your example.
We're living in a world where they don't even know what a woman
Bring
is.
the mic.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, but it's true. You're right.
We don't know what a woman is. Now we're saying a woman is someone who identifies as a woman.
I'm very sorry. I assumed you were both women when I walked in the room. I apologize for
Oh, no, you didn't ask. I go by she.
In America,
she. Astaghfirullah. What a world. What a world.
No, but it's absolute clown world, and they're trying to convince you. This goes back into what we were saying earlier about destroying the family unit. They're trying to convince you to ignore your own eyes. None of these things that are happening are on accident. COVID was a perfect example of how they're trying to convince you to ignore your own eyes. I love that you said nobody apologized because I was the biggest anti-corona person.
Me
and
too.
Everyone's like,
I didn't wear a mask. I got in trouble at work every single day, and I did it with my chest.
Absolutely. And now everyone understands. But at the very beginning, I'm talking about day one.
I did 3 minutes of logic. I sat with Tristan and said, look, if this disease kills us, 2 military-age males in our prime, then the world's fucked. So there's no point hiding from it.
Yeah.
If it kills us, it's over. So we, from within 10 seconds of the propaganda, we're over with it. We didn't do nothing. And you're right. Nobody apologizes.
Yeah,
Nobody says sorry.
but
Nobody
the-
self-reflects. Nothing.
The reason
Oh,
I
they've
was
invaded
so
Iraq.
yeah.
They haven't said sorry.
That's
They've killed
true,
a million
exactly.
people. What are they going to care about a disease
But
which
the-
they can like uncover?
That was
you
the
know?
red flag. It's like there's children starving in the world for diarrhea, and you can easily cure that. And now we're telling everyone has to shut down because old people might die. And I was like, this is not their. They're not caring government.
So why did they do it? And people will say money, but money is actually a very optimistic way to look at it, because I don't think that, in fact, the people who did these kind of things are above money. They print money. They don't do
Yeah.
it for money. They do it because they're training you into submission. When they say to you, wear a mask when you walk in the restaurant, sit down, take it off when you eat, put it back on to go toilet, calm down, take it off. This has nothing to do with medicine. This is submission training. And they're also training you and convincing you to ignore your own eyes. It's not an accident. They're testing their machine. When I say ignore your own eyes, I've had this argument with people. I said, did you see a pandemic? They're like, oh yeah, because they wear a mask. No. You saw masks. I'm not saying that. Did you see a pandemic?
Yeah.
Did you see dead bodies? Did you see full hospitals? Did you see ambulances running back and forth? You didn't see anything. They convinced you to ignore your eyes and believe the garbage. And they do this with absolutely everything. And God stands in the way, and baseline morality stands in the way of complete slave mode.
Yeah.
So they come along and say, okay, what's the baseline morality? Not having sex with children. Okay, let's attack that and say pedophilia is okay. What else? What do you see with your eyes? The sky is blue. That's a man. That's a woman. Okay, well, the sky blue one's difficult. But
Yeah,
let's
let's
attack
start
this
with
one.
the- let's start
do
with
this
this
one.
one.
And they
God
do it so
forbid.
that your own eyes deceive you.
Yeah,
And
but do you
sit
know
there-
what's scary is that there's actually people who believe that. There's genuinely people that think that a man is a woman is a man, and we're ignoring the psychology behind it.
They're the same
It's-
people who think posing on OnlyFans is empowering.
These are the people who canceled me.
They're the same people.
They're gonna come
Empowerment
for
is
all of
showing
us
your
now.
ass.
They're gonna come for us,
Isn't
yeah.
it? The same women who think empowerment is showing my ass and breasts, getting a Chanel bag, and holding a champagne glass on a private jet. I'm empowerment. That's not empowering.
Yeah.
For me, that is prostitution, like you say.
And even, I think it was Emily Ratajkowski. I wrote an interesting piece for Russia Today, and I said, the joke is on us, ladies. If Emily Ratajkowski is, going in Blurred Lines. Blurred Lines was the music video where they were all basically, the girls were all naked, the guys were all dressed in suits, and she said, I felt so empowered because the woman was a director. The director was a woman, so I felt so empowered being naked, and it's all about, your sexuality and whatever. And I'm like, the joke is on you, girlfriend. Like, you're just giving them a show. What are you talking
But
about?
can I just say, because I live in Dubai and I meet a lot of women who are about that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
There is something about they're able to get a man who they don't even like, pay for their rent, pay for their business, pay for their clinic, and then say bye and send his money back to her boyfriend in wherever she's from. Don't you think that it's twisting the power dynamic? Aren't women becoming a bit more in
But there's
control by
it's
this?
not control. Do you think the guy cares?
But do you
When
think she cares?
No, but that's the whole point. But
Yeah.
she comes across like a prostitute. Like I said, when she's 45 and the looks have gone and she's chasing now the crack dealers. She's gone from the brokers to the
Yeah.
ballers to the crack dealers for anything. These guys have got their wives, kids. This guy is, for him, astaghfirullah, I don't say, it's just ejaculating.
I know.
Men are like this. I used to have a gym. It's like a barber shop. Married men, like especially in England, they go to the gym. They go to these Thai massages for this happy ending. Like it's-
Yeah.
the woman looks like me with long hair. You are like Burj Khalifa. She looks like me.
Yeah.
That guy closes his eyes. He has a fix and goes home. All right, she'll put the dinner on. They don't think it's
But
nothing.
Tom,
It's,
don't
men
you
are
think-
built like
yeah,
this.
I know they don't think it's nothing, but don't you think there's a part of her that when she set her life up and now she's a millionaire and she's got businesses and she might have a kid with this guy, don't you think that a part of her is like, oh, I don't care either. I got where I need to
But
be.
won't she
Part of
care?
her will always feel ashamed. Trust me. Like,
Won't she care?
I
Him as
honestly,
well.
because if Cardi B doesn't
Yeah.
want her kids watching her music videos,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
So, like, come on, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
That's what I'm saying, when you have-
if you're sitting downstairs in the lobby and you're going from 1 hour, a different guy, go upstairs, do it. 2 hours, go upstairs, do
Yeah.
it. Do you really think a woman is enjoying that?
Yeah, suicide rates for prostitutes is about 8 times higher than ever. And I'm really curious what the suicide rates will be for OnlyFans girls, because it's too early to look at the data, but there's no way that's going to lead to a stable
think-
outcome in the future.
But I know what you're saying. I think even not prostitution. I think you're discussing maybe a
Gold
girl-
digger.
Yeah, gold
Yeah.
digger. She gets with some beta dude who has a bunch of
Yeah.
money. I think
It makes
it's
sense for them.
Yeah, it's
Beta
good.
dude.
It sounds great.
But you know what?
If they don't sleep with him,
Yeah.
I would applaud her.
I would do it.
You know,
to-
if-
yesterday.
Then she's a hustler. Then
You know
she's
what I
good.
mean?
No, but it's the
Hustler.
paradox of femininity. It's actually very interesting because if you look at, they always say nice guys finish last, and most beautiful women could get a nice guy who will do anything they want and give them all his money and
Yeah.
be loyal and love them. But women don't want it.
But don't
So,
you think?
like,
Don't you,
they
but,
don't
Exactly
want it.
that.
They don't want
Exactly.
this dude.
but nice girls feel like they finish last as well because
Nice
that
girls
girl.
don't finish last.
No, because the girl that doesn't post and doesn't have a BB on, doesn't have a
I
boob job,
don't. I
a guy
disagree with
doesn't
that. A
see
girl
her.
will always find a man.
Do you think so?
Always.
well-
Men, like he said before, those nice guys work hard all day, not in shape, hasn't got time, pays his bills. Where's he gonna? Like you said before, he's not gonna meet a girl. He's got no confidence.
Yeah.
Like the story he put before the podcast where his wife runs away with a guy.
Yeah.
He's got a kid. He's 45. He's finished.
But don't you think there's
Women
nice
at any
girls-
age can find a
But don't
man.
you think there's nice girls out there that are cooking, cleaning for their man while he's having sex with random girls on that he's met on Instagram?
I get what you're saying, and I think that's different. You're talking
I
you're
think
talking
nice
about
people.
something different, though.
Yeah.
You're talking about don't be an easy girl and don't act like a wife if he hasn't wifed you.
No, but if you,
know what
are
I
a wife,
mean?
I know
Don't
girls
give
that
him
are
everything.
wives and they
Yeah.
are at home with the kids and
Yeah.
stuff, and their husband is stepping out, and she gets to 40 with 3 kids, and he's left her for a 23-year-old. So there are nice girls also. I think nice people. I don't think it's a nice guy thing. I think nice people, and guys don't realize this. I did a video the other day about how men secretly like gold diggers. They like entitled women, and everyone came for me. But the reality is, men invest first, then love it. Whatever it is, whether it's stock, shares, crypto, once they've invested, then they start seeing the value in you. Before investment, they don't. So the girl that doesn't ask for anything and doesn't challenge a man, she actually loses her value with men.
But you can still be a nice girl and ask for things. You can definitely be a
Yeah.
nice girl and still ask
Can I
for
have some
things.
money?
You don't have to. You know?
Yeah, no.
Broke you.
Clickbait that.
Broke you. No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is interesting. But I think that even if you were to look at, let's say, lonely men, lonely women.
Yeah.
A lonely woman is a woman with a bunch of choices, but she doesn't want any of them. A lonely man is a man with no choices. And they're completely different things.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying about the girl who gets a guy who does anything for her and hustles her and gets money and the clinic and all this stuff. But girls don't normally want those men. They don't. They want the top tier guy who barely replies. That's the reality.
Sorry,
you have to look
it's-
at
it's
you,
very,
and
very
you
true.
have to look at us also, not just societally, right? Because a lot of the things we do don't make societal sense, but evolutionarily we're different. We're animals. We evolved a certain way, and women like the idea of a top tier male, whether physical specimen or status or finances, etc. And that's never going to be the guy who's like the beta who works hard and gives you all his cash. And that's you have to make a choice as a woman, and it is a difficult choice to make. If I was a girl, I don't know which one I'd choose.
But as a man, do you want the girl that's the hottest girl in the room, or do you want that simple girl that no one would look
No,
at
we
and she's
want the
a
hottest girl in the room.
Yeah,
Who's
but
a simple girl? We want both.
but then that's
want
the
a
same
beautiful lady who's simple, no,
dichotomy.
you
That's
want
the
a woman-
same dichotomy that
We-
women face.
We speak off camera, a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
And we've had private discussions many times.
Yeah.
And it's always, we should appreciate, like, you know, there's women. Like, I spoke to one friend who's very wealthy, and he has a baby mother, whatever, like you call. And he goes, you know, why am I spending money on these hoes, sorry to say, like,
Yeah, yeah.
the term, when I've got a woman who's a ride or die? And he said, like, I got to an age where that's it, I'm putting all my effort into her. Whatever happens, I realise it's an hour after shower, all women are the same.
Yeah, the same
Hour
shit.
after, and same as men. You get used to them.
Yeah.
The lust goes, and it comes down to who's a rock, who's there when you had nothing, who's that, and that's the main key. Who's raising your kid while you're out having fun?
Yep.
She's sitting in that house looking after a kid. As men, we know babysitting a child for
Yeah,
2
it's not
hours is
easy.
like,
Yeah.
you know, she does 24/7. Their meals, their education, tells them what's right and wrong, potty training, whatever.
Yeah.
When the older you get, you sit back and think, you know what, that woman deserves
But
respect.
in that process, you've hurt her a lot.
Men, unfortunately, where men have, like you said, it's not a good thing.
No.
Men are built in a certain way without God, and then my tells
Yeah.
Allah in the holy book in scriptures. If I wasn't a Muslim, I'd be worse than anyone. No, my boundaries are set by God.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's instinctive.
You can find men who do not have that, who do not seem to have that desire to go out, and even though. Let me tell you one more thing first.
Yeah.
Societally, men look at the world slightly different than women. As
Yeah.
well. We look at the world in terms of like completed tasks. If a man gets a Porsche, he goes bang, tick off. Okay, I got a Porsche. When am I getting a Rari? That's just it.
Yeah.
I got a house. Okay, cool. When am I getting a mansion? That's
Yeah.
just how we. And in the world we live in, men are hyper competitive, right? So the second you get something, you're not allowed to really look at it and enjoy it too much. You got to go on to the next
Yeah.
thing. And unfortunately, we do that with women. We want to go bang. Okay, she's
Yeah.
a solid chick. She's home. She ain't cheating. Boom. Okay, let me get another
Yeah.
holiday. That's just how we are, right? Which
So
is
annoying.
part of it societally. But also from an evolutionary perspective, yes, we're evolved to do these things. And you can find men who don't seem to have the instinct to chase loads of women, but that's going to be the same man who doesn't have the instinct to chase loads of money, get power, get influence, be the top dog. The top dog is going to be the top dog in everything. And if you find that guy, if you find a dude who's out there and he's truly top dog across all spheres, he's not going to ignore this part of his life, unfortunately. Unless something like religion, but it has to be a conscious decision. It has to be something you decide.
He has to actively decide.
You have to actively decide. If you're just going to say, what do I feel like doing? Well, I feel like leaving her there and going out with the boys. That's what I feel like doing.
A few moments back, he's right. Women do want that bad guy. Like, I remember a guy who was a mugshot.
Yeah.
He's a model now.
He
has
What's
tats.
his name again?
Jeremy.
He's handsome. He was dating
but everyone was
someone
sharing this picture. Oh, he's so hot. He's a convict. Why don't you say the same thing about Jimmy Savile?
Because he's not hot.
Yeah.
But that's what this guy's a criminal. So, for example,
but
they're promoting a guy who's had a mugshot. Who knows what he's done? It could have been no one cared what he did.
Yeah.
He's cool. Why? They love that whole image which portrayed through hip hop and movies. Bad boy, cool. And then they complain.
Yeah.
I haven't got the good guy who works 9 to 5, loves me, holds my hand, massages my neck. I've seen guys do that to a wife, and I've been pulled up and going, you're not affectionate. So,
but isn't it the same? I know, I hate to be this person who's always like, oh, but isn't it the same? We get Laurie Harvey, who's stunning, beautiful. Guys want to be her, but they know she's not. She's a male. Oh, you know who Laurie Harvey is? How do you guys not know who Laurie Futures? Okay, let's take a really hot girl.
Rania.
Oh, let's take
I see Queen Rania.
Yeah, you like a nice girl, yeah.
Classy, powerful. Queen Rania for me.
Yeah. Who's your celebrity crush? Do you have a celebrity crush?
He didn't even know.
No?
He's not on social media.
But the top tier girls who's the sexiest, and she's also going to come with problems. Beautiful girls are hard work. They're not easy.
Like you said, we change with age and evolve. I've got to that point where I find powerful women attractive, but who raise kids, who are side by side with her king, or whatever. I love that. For me, there's some shakers here who are influencers. I respect. That's what I see as a woman. When you're young, Samantha Fox when you're a young kid, this, that, but Pamela Anderson, but that's just perversion.
Yeah.
It's also very difficult. Like, I have so much respect for women who really stick by their men and, do it for the family.
Yeah,
it's so hard to find these loyal women nowadays, and I really think it's because of the influence of these, influencers. I mean,
when a lot of the stigma behind just running to a new man disappears, then it's the answer for everything. It's the cure-all. That's the problem with the West. The reason the West is impossible to find a wife is because she's been through so many dudes before you. The second you half annoy her 1%, well, her answer is new dude. That's just her answer. So you can't ever have any half an argument. You can't miss a good morning text.
That's very true.
It's garbage, right? So you need that stigma there. And when that's gone, it's difficult. And relationships as a whole are difficult. If I was a girl, I have no idea what kind of guy I would date. Because do you really want that dude? Do you really want that guy?
Would you date you? That's the.
Well, the thing is,
that's a good question. Would you date you?
I'll tell you all the good and bad about you.
Yeah, go ahead. I think we should all do. You tell me yours. Go on.
But let's apply it to something. Let's look at men like cars. If you want a Ferrari, everyone else is going to be jealous of your Ferrari, and it's going to be exciting, and it's going to be a bunch of fun, but it's never going to be as reliable as a Nissan. To sit and say, I want a Ferrari reliable like a Nissan is unrealistic. Right. You have to make a choice. Now, some people choose Nissans because all they care about is reliability. If you're going to be like, I want a guy, like you said, the nice guy who does this, you can get a Nissan. But any girl can get a Nissan any day of the week, and they never seem to want them. But you can go out there right now and find a dude who's going to pay your bills, do this, do that. You're both beautiful very easily. But then you look at the Ferrari and you want the Ferrari. Well, the Ferrari comes with a bunch of problems. It's unreliable, it's expensive, sometimes doesn't want to work, whatever. Yeah. That's it. So you have to choose what kind of guy you want.
So you are.
I am 1,000% Bugatti Pagani. I am trouble.
You're gonna.
But I mean, I'll be, because we're on a podcast, I'll be brutally honest. The kind of guy I am. Yeah. I believe in taking care of a woman. I think if a woman's mine and I can trust her and she's loyal, I would make sure she's financially taken care of. I think that's actually how men show a lot of their love. Yeah. I think a lot of love is shown by making sure the house is stable, paid for, finances. They ain't got to worry about nothing. I think that's how love is shown. Women primarily show their love through sexual exclusivity. I'm not saying I'm going to be out there and being a massive cheater or something, but I am the kind of guy who, I'm out. Oh, well, you said you're coming home. I said I'm out. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Like I'm busy. And that's just who I am as a person. But I don't think if a woman looks at me and goes, I want Tate and all of his status and all of his fame and all of his money, but I want him to do as I say. Well, then you're delusional.
So hold on, you're really diplomatic. You still haven't answered the question. Would you date yourself?
Well, this is the thing.
If
Okay,
you-
let me give another politician's answer. Another politician's answer. Women seem to want to date men who are at that absolute top tier of status who they can't control. That's who women choose. Let's forget, like, would I date me? That's who women choose. Let's look at who women as a whole are choosing. When Chris Brown walks in the club and the girls start screaming, not a single one is thinking he's gonna be loyal and stay home. It doesn't cross their mind. They don't give a shit. It's all status, 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 status. So if you're gonna find a guy with that much status and all them options, plus his biological programming, you're gonna have fucking trouble. You're not gonna have Mr. Dependable.
But are you going to attract a good girl? Are you going to attract a wife with that kind of a status, or are you going to attract a hoe?
I think
Because a wife is going to look at a Chris Brown and see that lifestyle and think, amazing, I would love to be with him, but there's no point. We're never going to get married. So, khalas. So what kind of woman are you going to attract
well,
with
that
that?
comes into that's where the game gets difficult, right? Because Chris Brown can walk with that good girl out of the club and he can convince her that he will be good to her.
Well,
and
he's
blah,
not going to
blah.
find a good girl in the club.
Well, not in the
You know
club,
what I
but
mean?
you know what I'm saying.
But, yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
Still, a part of being a
Good
good girl
girls-
is being able to vet
Good
men.
good girls do not avoid high status males, not at all. Good girls, they may not stick around as much or something like that, but good girls do not avoid high status males. High status males do not have any disadvantage across any of the playing fields at all. It doesn't matter if you're a high status male who's the most famous man in the world has an advantage with virgins and hoes alike. The exact same. He's that guy. That's it.
But do you think they have a skewed vision because they've only been around women that want to be with them, but true wives wouldn't even talk to them?
I don't know if that's true.
But you'd have a skewed vision. If you're a high value man, you'd have a skewed. Oh, don't get excited. If you're a high value,
take
successful man, your filter is naturally certain types of women. A good girl at home, she would be afraid to talk to you, intimidate. You would never come across her in your life.
No, you can still come across her. I mean,
How?
you can definitely come across good girls. There's good girls everywhere. There's good girls, but also I'll tell you another thing that a part of this equation to have the conversation professionally is a lot of women are a reflection of their men. So a lot of women, especially if they're not completely broken, let's say you've had a girl, she's had 3 or 4 boyfriends, whatever. Her next man can make or break her. She's a reflection of her man. If her man's a G and he's got his game right and she behaves herself for him, she'll be a good woman. If her next man's doing coke, hitting the club, being an idiot, she goes off the deep end. A lot of women are reflections of their men. If you see a woman who's been in a relationship for a long enough time, if she has any degree of respect for her man, she likes the same music, same political views, same TV
Eat
shows.
the same thing he
Same
eats,
thing.
yeah.
But she's evolved to do that. Like we can go back from the evolutionary perspective and how women joined a tribe and they had to agree with the tribe to survive and women needed men to protect them and there's all this to look at. So a lot of women are a reflection of their men. So we talk about finding good girls. I don't think you really necessarily find a good girl. You find a girl who's not yet completely broken and you're man enough to make her be a good girl for you.
Yeah.
That's a lot of women are reflections of their men. So I would argue a real G finds good girls all day long because every girl's like, well,
maybe
I'm
you
not
could
cheating on
create-
him because there's
yeah.
nowhere else to go. Like,
Well, maybe
I'm
you-
not going to go cheat with Mr. Brokey. I'm going to stay with him.
Well, maybe you create good girls.
Of course you do.
Yeah, maybe
But-
that's what it is.
of
You
course
create
do.
them.
Of
Yeah.
course you do. But if you're a dork, then of course you can't find anything good.
Yeah.
But you're a dork. So like, why would a girl be good for a nerd?
Yeah.
You know. So this is where a lot of it comes
Because
in as
I
well.
know you think that girls can meet a nice guy, but there's certain girls, when they look a certain way, the nice guy doesn't even want to talk to them. He doesn't want to approach them. So she doesn't actually access nice guys. She ends up accessing the player because he's the one that approaches her the most.
I think nice guys are trying harder than she'll admit, but she just ignores them all.
Do you
Wait,
think so?
what do you mean?
Like if you're like a beautiful girl and you walk into a room, the nice shy guy is not running over to talk to you. So her pool of men tends to be the confident men that have lots of girls, take it or leave it. They're the men that she approaches. Women aren't designed to go scout for a man.
I agree, but I would argue that her DMs are full of nice guys and their profiles are not interesting enough, and she ignores them.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, look at
Spot
this
on.
dude with the
DM
jet.
wise, maybe.
Look at this dude with the jet." And then she's like, "Oh no, Mr.
DM
Big
wise.
Millionaire is not busy."
100% spot on. That's the
Yeah.
problem. She doesn't even notice him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most men are
I've seen it in
invisible
my
to
gym.
women.
But what about same thing with a guy? If he's got hoes in his DMs and he's got that nice guy with a private thing and just says, a picture of her and a cat, would he notice that girl?
Cats.
Well, whatever it
Okay,
is.
now she's scaring him. That's why.
Would he notice?
Because I've never said anything controversial before. So I'm gonna do it for the first time ever.
Yeah.
But the reality is men judge women by their looks.
Yeah.
Especially initially, as we do. And
So do women.
exactly.
Yeah.
This is what we do. If that girl with a cat at home, I'll tell you now, if I found a girl who was a 10 and her Instagram profiles was cats and books and sitting at home, that'd be perfect for me. I have no problems with that. If she's hot. The problem is very few hot girls live that lifestyle because hot girls have access to
a whirlwind
Yeah.
lifestyle.
In Dubai, especially.
and the world.
In the world,
And
worldwide. yeah.
worldwide.
But
So
I-
it depends.
But I also think that there are a lot of women today are not prepared to actually go through that difficult journey with the man and stay with him. And, you know, like, I really feel for young men, like,
Yeah.
nowadays. Like, it's so difficult. Imagine if you want to marry a girl, she becomes your responsibility. You've
Yeah.
got, like, 7,000 dirhams salary coming in every month. Like, it's so difficult, you know. Like, I have so much respect for my mom, who, you know, stayed with my dad. Like, well, he had nothing. Like, we were living in Ras Al Khaimah. I swear to God, my dad's salary, no joke, 500 dirhams.
Oh.
Like, we would eat meat once a week. We would eat fish once a week. My dad would go to work
Yeah.
with holes in his shoes, and she stayed with him. Like, they're together now, you know, for like
beautiful.
you
Yeah.
know, over 40 years. So
It's
yeah.
beautiful, but and this is the thing. The world has changed, and
It
this
was
is
too
where
fast.
Change that.
Well,
Yeah,
but
it's
the-
impossible.
the
Yeah.
the world's changed, and this
That's
is
the problem.
and this is where it becomes so difficult, because especially for a man in the world today, I don't think, unless you're a top tier male, you can't compete. You
Yeah,
can't
it's
compete.
hard.
It's super. I think there's a. You can actually look this up. They did a study on Tinder, and they got girls to rate men's attractiveness, and they were showing that men are more gradual and women are very binary. So they got like 100 pictures, and a guy had to give a rating out of 5, and it was pretty even. Like there's some 1s, some 2s, some 3s, some 4s, some 5s. Whereas girls, like 80% were 1s and 2s, and then 20% were 5s. And the point is, girls are just either like yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes or no. And if you're not in the yes, your life's difficult.
Yeah, but-
it is hard. And it's not just looks.
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
hard.
just looks. It's
Yeah.
a bunch. It's also other things your man can't control. I'll tell you the number one thing that women are women always complain that men have expectations of women, etc. If you're a short dude,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And women don't give a fuck.
Yeah, we
They're
don't.
like, nah, I should have grown bigger. Fuck you. Next. Oh, you do what? Oh, you're rich? Don't care.
Yeah.
That's it. Bro, it's hard, right?
care a little
And
bit.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
And what can you do as a short man besides be your best self, same as being a
Yeah.
tall man? I'm not shitting on them. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
as a man, women will wake up and go, yeah, I don't want to too much. I don't know why it's so hard for me to find a man who's rich and strong and interesting and spontaneous and
Yeah.
charismatic and has high status and has time for me and doesn't cheat
Mm-hmm.
and is tall and has muscles and a Lambo and like, where's all the guys? What the fuck? What the fuck? There's only one top G. I'm busy. I'm doing my best. Like,
Yeah.
it's hard.
It
And if
is
you're a
hard for
normal
men.
dude, it's especially hard because social media, these women have so many choices.
Yeah.
And this is where the actual thing comes into it. You look at, let's say, I'm talking about godless societies like America, etc. And like you said about the Thai happy finish, men don't care a lot of the time, right? So if you're an average chick, let's say you're a 6 or a 7, on a long enough time scale, if you keep answering your DMs, you're going to end up with a G somewhere.
Yeah.
Even for just 2 days.
Yeah.
Fly them out quickly, boom,
Yeah.
or she's part of a group one time, whatever,
Yeah.
you with a G.
Sure.
Now it's going to cross her mind, I can get a guy like that. Obviously, he doesn't talk to her again, but I can get a guy like that. So when the Mr. Normal comes along, you're like, well, you ain't got a jet. So,
Yeah.
so even if you're a
It is
normal
hard.
dude, even the normal girls you talk to have been ruined, have been polluted. It's hard. It's super hard for men.
Yeah.
And I do think it's hard for women, but at least women have a bunch of choices, and it's hard to make the right choice. There are huge swaths of the male population that have no choice at all.
But do you think
Zero choice.
Do you think unattractive girls have choice?
Well, even
Like, let's
yes,
take an
yes.
ugly girl.
Yeah.
Because I would say that it's really hard to be an ugly girl as well, because you're so surrounded by
It
beautiful
is.
girls.
It is.
With unattractive men, there's other unattractive men that you can relate to. But unattractive women, there's bombarded of beautiful women all around them. I want. Like,
Okay,
I
let's
don't know
put it
how-
this way. If we were to look at the sexual mating, I do think it's hard to be an unattractive woman.
Especially going into a club or something, you don't even want to go. You won't want to go.
Completely. But if you were to look at the mating choices of an unattractive female and the mating choices of an unimportant man, I
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
would argue the unattractive female still has unlimited choices compared to that unimportant man. The unimportant man, when I say unimportant, I mean dude works at Starbucks,
Yeah.
42, like dude, like his choices are zero. They're
Yeah.
zero. That chick can still go to the club. If she drops her level, she'll be fine.
I've seen girls stuff back in the old days we bully, in school. She's got nits. You had in the UK. She's got nits. Schools are messed up.
Yeah.
There'd always be one had no friends,
Aw.
smelt from
Yeah.
a bad. Bless them. I see these. I went back a few years ago. I saw this girl who was literally
The loser.
ripped for whole life, with the cutest mixed race kid walking and
Yeah.
stuff fly. God judge me. I was like, who? How? Like, some guy. My brother like makes a joke I won't put on podcast, but she found a guy. She slept with a guy and she's got a child now.
Yeah.
She's like, she was happy playing with the kid. The kid was beautiful. I was like, wow, even she found. But guys, he's right. Women, guys are unfortunately will sleep with anything.
I'll tell you another thing. That's different about the dynamics is men don't often leave women. Now, what we will do is we will start treating a woman like shit. Yeah, 100%. If she leaves, right? But this is the point. So if you're a woman, let's say you're in her scenario, right? She gets with some dude, gives her a kid, whatever. That dude finds a better option. As long as she's a good mother to that kid and she doesn't stress him too tough, she'll always be looked after to a degree, and she'll always once a month have a dude to see. He ain't going to leave her because that's ticked box. What did I say earlier? Tick box, boom, that's it, done. Women leave men. It's different. Women will wake up one day and go, fuck you. Oh, but I've worked my whole life in the sewage plant. Don't care. Fuck you. And now he's 44, overweight, very average wage, no Instagram account. And he's like, he's done.
Not just that. Please, let's talk about the women taking all of the men's money.
All his money.
Oh, yeah,
they
that's
take,
awful.
I mean, I've heard so many stories
Yeah.
from guys in their 50s and in their 60s. The wife cheated on him. She left him for a younger guy also.
Yeah.
Left him the kids and took all his money. And now he's
crazy.
broke, sitting at home, lonely, missing her.
But I do think
because
that's
she screwed him
structural. I do
over.
think
They're,
that's
they're
governmental.
shaitans. They're
Yeah.
the shaitans of this
Yeah,
society.
they
Yeah.
are trying to
They're
put
worse
men
than
off
murderers.
marriage. Yeah,
But
they're
this
trying
is
to,
it.
yeah, they're
It's
trying to put men
It's
off
amazing
marriage.
how it comes full circle. Completely
Yeah.
right. So when they've polluted the female mind where that's a genuine risk, and now
Yeah.
you're living in America and you know that getting married doesn't make any sense
No,
for
it
you
makes
as a
no
man.
sense for a man.
So then what are you going to be attracted to? Instagram hosts.
Yeah.
I ain't getting married anyway.
It's all part
so
of
now,
the
and now it goes full
process.
circle
Yeah,
and you end
it's all
up
part
back
of
where you started.
It's all
Yeah.
part of the plan.
Yeah.
Just it's not even women's fault. It's governmental to destroy homes. There's remove the motivation for marriage, so then people become reckless,
Yeah.
and children don't have a home.
Completely.
Whilst we've got the man in the room now,
Yeah.
I've never really watched a podcast with him with two ladies facing him. And I saw in all the press, he's like, I've had to defend him because I know him very well.
Yeah.
He's a misogynist, he's that, he's this. Have you ever seen an issue with him? I want to know, as a woman. Now you're on the camera, this
Yeah.
is going to go
Go
out.
on, go on. Tell the world I'm horrible.
You've got to both have your
what?
opportunity.
Yeah.
From everything you've seen, edited, non-edited,
Yeah.
what was your issue or what's your
Well,
non-issues
the
with him?
first time I saw
Be
you
honest.
speak on something, I remember I wasn't really watching the TV. I just heard it in the background. It must have been on my phone. And I heard you say something. And I was like, is that guy Pakistani? And then someone was like, no. I was like, he's definitely Pakistani. You were saying something that was very familiar for me. I'm Pakistani. So I was like, he must be. And then I found out you grew up in Luton. So I was like, that makes sense. Everything he says, I'm so familiar with it. I would expect nothing less. The men I'm around would think exactly the same way. So I don't find it shocking or misogynist. I'm raised like that.
Do you agree with it? That's not about what you're used to now. I'm asking with what his stance is.
Yeah.
Do you agree as a woman? Because he gets a lot of backlash, but he made a good point.
Yeah.
I've been around him nearly every day sometimes.
Yeah.
I've never seen a woman in public come and say something bad. So
Right.
I want to know, who are these women? Is it a movement? I want to know because I've never seen anyone say it to me.
I would say one thing. I would say sometimes it can be divisive. Like what we're saying, nice guys finish last, but sometimes nice girls do. And I
Agreed.
think let's try and remove the division and focus on society rather than just men have this really bad. I get men have it really, really bad. But society is shit. Women have it bad in some ways, men have it bad. I think women are becoming more and more detrimental. I think that, but it's not really entirely their fault. It's the way society is now structured. So I think let's try and less this division and more how do we fix this? Because I want to see families. I want to see, and sometimes what happens is it's not you, but your followers. I always say your followers are this loser guy who's never had options, who now starts saying, "Fuck women, and it's like, but you haven't earned that status. You can't speak like that because you haven't done the legwork it
She's
takes.
dissing the war room, bro. She's dissing your Hustlers University, bro.
No. I get they're putting in the work though. They're in some way putting in the work, but it's the guy with not putting in the work who's just listening. The problem is when your message lands on men without money, they can't. It doesn't land properly because they're just saying, "I want lots of women. I want lots of hoes." But it's like you can't fund those women and you can't get those women to submit to you, so you can't emulate Andrew Tate. But you want to, and so that's where we need to kind of educate them. In order to have your views, they have to have your lifestyle.
Valid.
Yeah.
That's very valid. And I feel like I do say it a little bit, but I need to say it more. But
Maybe.
I say repeatedly that if you're
I
not,
hear
if
you
you're not
say
a top
it.
tier male,
Yeah.
you can't. Life sucks. And I agree with you about the
Yeah.
divisive thing as well.
Yeah.
The only reason some of it comes across divisive, I think, is because a lot of the time, especially in America, I'm arguing against rabid feminists,
Yeah.
right? So I'm trying to say, look, blah, blah, blah. But no, that's valid points.
So that's the only issue.
Well, that's the only
Well,
issue for
press,
me.
okay.
Yeah.
Actually, Lubna, it's good you actually met. Lubna's the one who wrote an article backing us when we were doing that event here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as an Arab lady here, it was very good, empowering, because I've noticed one thing: the Western women don't like to feud with Arabic women who are educated. I've noticed that they fear them.
Yeah.
Like with Lubna, when she posts, I see her comments. There's not really anyone going against her with me. It's like, "F you, you're this, you're scum." you've got a wife in a picture there without hijab, your kids are this, like I get this abuse because, you know, but
it's ridiculous.
look, what was your issue with his whole cancel? Did you have an issue? Or what was your issue with Dubai in itself, or some Middle Eastern pockets of Middle Eastern women, this new generation are having an issue apparently online?
Look, I think that for you to be as famous as you are today, you had to do things in a certain way. You had to be extra controversial, and now you got here. You know, I think the reason a lot of the women were pissed off because it's kind of like you're just turning in the knife. You know what I mean? Telling them like, ooh, you know, we can do this. Like we've got you know, and you can't. You know.
Yeah.
So I think now that you do have that platform, you can actually be really helpful to a lot of women. Like I think a lot of women do agree with a lot of things that you said, and men, but they don't necessarily like the delivery because it's just a little bit like, you know, kind of like pissing off.
But it's an amazing platform to create because you won't believe how many racist little white boys are now saying, I want a Muslim girl, I do. I want a and I'm like, oh, look, you've completely eradicated Islamophobia. And it's something like Mo Salah did for a little while in Liverpool. Like they really actually became, and I think anything that, from my perspective, anything that can draw light to a faith that I feel really passionate about, I'm always grateful for whoever shines a torch on that. So
I won't even say it's young white boys, because if you go to Russia,
the
men are the same as me, same as us, like Russia,
Yeah.
East Europe. These kind of places, they're very alpha male, they're very old school, traditional.
Very
I think it's the
traditional,
Western, real
So
Western
Islam comes
pockets.
naturally to alpha men. It kind of is a natural transition because it teaches alpha kind of behavior anyway.
Like,
so
I know people like this, little dislike this, but Vladimir Putin, a lot of people have a negative thing. I see him as a very powerful and influential man. I respect him.
Yeah.
And people say, oh no, I don't. See, people run around and watch the press, how they take it, and the media portrays everything. But if you really study the situation, I respect him as a leader.
Yeah.
I've been to Moscow many times. Crime's quite low. It's organised mafia kind of thing.
Yeah.
You won't see stabbings and acid attacks. Women are safe. It's still traditional.
women are really well treated in Russia, like
You have
Dubai.
an issue. You have an issue with your wife. You can call the wife's father. He comes and fixes it. You don't go to a therapist. When she goes, leave him. You're free. You're free. Leave therapy. Pay me more money. The man's evil. You know, that's why I hate therapy.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're a therapist, but
Yeah.
to an extent in the West,
Yeah.
you know. So I think it's not just the white race. It's pockets of the country where, like you said, this agenda's being pushed. US, UK.
Yeah, but these are
modern
completely
societies.
failed nations. They're completely failed society. If you look at by any metric you can measure a society, whether it's birth rate, crime rate, happiness index, safety, like literally anything you can name, these societies are failing daily. They're getting worse. They're decaying empires on every single level, and it's no coincidence that obviously the men and women aren't acting right, and that's all messed up. It's actually it's kind of funny for me because every time I meet women who are attractive physically, they're like, oh yeah, Andrew, he's not a big deal to that. The women who hate me are whenever you show, when someone does a video on Andrew Tate, I can look at the thumbnail and go, she likes me. She's hot.
Yeah.
She's fine.
Do you know what?
Buddies love me. It's always some troll.
But do you know what it is? Attractive women get an insight into a lifestyle that unattractive women are unaware that
And
even
they don't
exists.
understand.
So when
That's
they
right.
say things like, "Oh, we spend and we look after our women," they've never accessed that, so they think that's misogyny. And it's like, no, honey, it's amazing. Trust me.
Yeah.
So they don't understand what it looks like, and therefore they come at it with negativity. But I do think appearance plays a role, both men and women. When I see red pill men that hate women, it's always a guy on computer games and this that, and the other. Whereas when I see people like you who actually, you can tell you love women, and part of being an alpha man, you love women.
We love good women.
Love good women. Yeah, you love good women. You can tell you guys love women. There's no hate towards women. It's just this is how life is. But when you meet the people that hate men or that hate women, it's because they've faced a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
And the best way to deal with rejection is to minimize the thing that's rejecting you, so they end up just hating the opposite.
And that's it. And I also understand what you're saying also about some of my fans can misunderstand what I say.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. I understand that.
But it's okay. You know, same with anybody's
I mean,
fans,
when I
guess.
wrote the article, honestly, like the article is called "What's So Wrong About Andrew Tate," and a lot of people were like, you know what? We thought we were gonna get pissed off by the end of the article, but we actually really liked it. Like, we don't really like Andrew, but now we're kind of like, okay, he's not pissing us off as much.
Yeah.
How do you feel about being so famous at the moment? Does it feel
You've
great?
survived cancellation.
Yeah, how
You've
does it
survived
feel
cancel
being
culture.
famous?
Saying that guy's got a sniper bullet in that
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
just spoke-
how does it feel being that? Because the thing is, most people who become famous usually through a sport or which you did, but maybe sport or acting. So there's a long way coming to it. When it's social media, it can be overnight.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's a good question. In regards to
people disliking me, like you're saying, getting to the end of the article, not really disliking me. In my experience, I've never had a single person see me in person and say a single bad thing ever. Every single man, woman, everyone just is positive. There's some lifestyle changes. I don't go out the house very much. It's a bit of a headache.
Yeah.
But I didn't do it to become famous like that.
Yeah.
But I do feel a massive responsibility. Like when I was saying a lot of my more crazy things, I was saying the same ideas in a more crazy way. But now I understand with a much larger platform, you must be responsible with it. And even like you were saying about fans taking things out of context, etc. So I try and be a little bit more responsible with it while not selling out and getting my point across.
Of course.
I just feel a sense of responsibility mainly.
Well, you're in a position where you can actually create homes in people's lives now. Yeah, and so with that, you can actually make a really important difference.
Yeah, I didn't set out to change the world, but I kind of feel like I'm getting
here now.
So I have to be very careful.
More pressure on you.
You're here now,
you have to be
mate.
very careful with what you say, but this is why I push the idea of masculine excellence. And when I do say things like, Big G can do what he wants, I'm talking about Big G. I'm not talking about dude. I'm talking about dude.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of emails. I get over 10,000 emails a day, and I get emails from people going, I'm just a normal guy. What do I do? And like, then you're a normal dude. You can't play by the rules we're even discussing.
Just live a normal life. Just live a normal life.
Live a normal life, right? Yeah, and he goes, well, I don't want this life. I said, well, then you have to become an important man, and it's exceptionally difficult to do, but that's the road
but
that has to be
I would
trodden
always
for men.
argue that there's so much beauty in having a normal, simple life, because those without options tend to be more satisfied with what they get. It's kind of like when you go to a restaurant, there's so many options, you don't like whatever. But when it's a home-cooked meal, just one meal, you're always more satisfied. So people without options are actually in a privileged position. You don't have to try and be this person. It's not always greener. Being limited means that you're more satisfied. So enjoy it.
In many ways, yes, I can.
Yeah,
but
but
that's, again, that's harder with society.
It's easier said than
social
done.
media,
Yeah, it's easier
the
said than
pressure that's on men is immense. The pressure, like I said earlier, for the things people expect out of a man are immense.
Awful.
And most men, I'm not even just talking about from a sexual perspective. You can look at it from an entire societal perspective. Most men are incapable of doing what society expects of them.
Yeah.
Women go to men and say, we have a problem here. And men will say, okay, don't worry, I'll fix it. The man doesn't have a fucking clue to fix it. He ain't got any money. He ain't got any friends. He's a brokey, but his chick needs it fixed. So he's like, oh shit, how do I fix it? He can't sit there and go, dunno, babe, you fix it. Because then she'll leave. So
she'll
like
leave.
the pressure on men in all
she won't leave straight
spheres-
away, but she'll definitely leave.
Oh, sooner or later.
She'll definitely
You're right. So you've got to be that guy, and it's like it doesn't matter what it is. You wouldn't believe. Tam will confirm it. When you're like the top tier in your life, you end up being the top tier of not just your relationship, but almost like a clan. Like I have almost 100 people who will come to me with their biggest problem. I know 100. I can name 100 people right now. If they got arrested or if the worst thing happens, they get one call. TATE. And you end up having to be this guy who can do everything.
You're
Like whether they
definitely
need a
that guy.
vaccine passport or you got to get out of jail in Russia or they need $1 million. You're like, whoa. So you end up being this guy, and if you're not the kind of guy who can fix a bunch of problems, you soon, especially women, they'll be fast. Women will come to you and go, oh, this, and you're like, oh, I'll fix it. If you're like, oh, I don't know, bro.
I think it's also so competitive, and you can never show weakness. Like, you always need to be strong. It's like, sharks in the water. Like, if they smell blood, like, khalas, you're done. Especially in the world of business, Andy. There are so many men who are so successful, but haram, the amount of pressure that they're under. These guys are like popping Xanax pills like they're.
And I'm not gonna lie in his
Panadols.
defense. This is, I don't show him. I get DMs from him. And like you said, I get these requests. People think I'm a sheikh and stuff like that. The stuff I get things like, can you help with money? To can you get me out of jail? To can I have that car? And we're responsible for a lot of people. Because you end up looking after people who are close to you and don't have the same
So
thing. But
not
I get a lot of emails, and some of them you can tell they're genuine. I see the profile. I can sieve of guys who are saying, if it wasn't for him in some of his videos, I was literally, she left me. I had this. I was suicidal, and I believe it. I can tell from a man how he's written. I can tell a fake one who wants a selfie to a real message, and how he feels confident. Some of his videos, the way he just goes, shut F her, like, his delivery helps men. You'll think some people, women don't understand, men need that. Men need that kind of shouting, this, that, like the old football coach, the boxing manager, Stalin, whatever, like that kind of autocratic, like that is what makes men move. Like Saddam Hussein, you need those powerful figures. When they go, look at society. The iron fist goes, men just go.
But I think that they need to realize that being a high value man isn't for everybody, and being with a high value man isn't for everything. If you're a girl, you know that being with a high value man is not always great. You don't get you don't get them on standby whenever you want.
It's
not always that.
I think he's saying to get confidence.
Get confidence.
Get confidence. Don't feel like
fulfill your potential. Don't have to be the best, but fulfill your potential.
Censor your world around chasing some woman or whatever. That's very important.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to go before we soon wrap it up is all the viewers know you've been reverted to Islam and everything. Obviously, I know the video went viral. But how's your life changing anyway? How do you feel? I mean, it's been a bit of a while now.
Welcome to the club.
Do you feel life changed? You feel a bit relaxed?
The
you feel more stressed?
the brotherhood is amazing.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I will say. You want to cure racism, Islam cures racism instantly. Like it's amazing, the brotherhood. That's certainly there. I certainly do feel more relaxed. I feel like I always had faith to a degree, so it's not like I'm brand new to the idea of faith, but I certainly feel more relaxed. I feel like a lot of the things which I knew were degenerate, but especially when you kind of get to a weird, fame was a weird thing, also to answer your question. When you're kind of on your way up to fame, or you're getting famous, or you're quite famous, you want to be in the place you're supposed to be, right? And then you get to a level of fame where you just don't want to go anywhere. It's just like, but a lot of things, it's great to look at things that previously I would have felt like for work I should be at, or for social, because people I know I should be at, and just go, haram, haram, no, staying home. So that's good.
What's the hardest thing so far? Is there anything?
Nothing's been hard. I've quit alcohol. That hasn't been difficult.
Yeah.
But I've always had insane willpower, so I can do anything I want to do. I just feel like it's a journey. There's a lot to learn. It can be quite daunting. You know, like even the language, even Arabic. Yeah. It's very hard to learn. So I'm just on a journey like everyone else, and I'm trying to study it.
So give us some Arabic words. Let's hear some.
All I know so far is halas, because I use it. This is the easiest word, halas. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's very hard. So I'm doing my best with it. But I think, like I've explained before on other podcasts, it's the only religion that's left on the planet that has serious boundaries. I saw actually an Islamic guy, an Islamic podcaster, I don't know who he was, who said TATE reverted to Islam because it's intolerant, or because its degree of intolerance is because of its strict lines, and people are trying to walk away from it because of its strict lines, but TATE understands the beauty of strict lines. And that's exactly what it is. You need to have boundaries in life, like everything we just discussed. If you remove boundaries, it becomes a free-for-all, right? So you need to have boundaries.
No, that's a very good point he made, because I've not seen that. I like to watch that, because I speak to guys about Islam all the time, and young boys, and I see them trying to chase that Western kind of way of life. I want to be this, that. When you've got a guy who has it all in this world, like you say, he comes to Islam. So to all you young guys, feel ashamed. Like, don't feel shy or embarrassed to be what you are, a Muslim, and be proud. Like, I've always been. I could be in a meeting, anywhere. Everyone knows me. I won't touch alcohol. I'll pray in the corner. And I think a lot of Muslim women are tending to shy away. And I'm sorry, we need more women to put, like, they see it as it's kind of like controlling the hijab, when millions and millions of women wear the hijab willingly as a sign of empowerment. So I think men, we have like people to look. I think women are a problem in a crossroads in life where there's no role models. They're chasing this hunky-dory stupid fairy tale. They're ashamed of being modest, and I've got 2 daughters, and I'm thinking which cave to move into when they're 16.
I think Russia. I would personally recommend Russia, but I think also you can't have it all. Like, you need to know that you cannot have it all. You know, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Life is all about, there's a quote I love, which is, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. You just got to do it. Like, if you want a nice body, you have to go to the gym, like, every single day. Nothing comes easy. Like, it's not like, okay, now we have Uber, we have Uber Eats, we have everything. Like, everything is now quick. People need to understand that, like, things take time, and you have to sacrifice. You can't just get it easy, and
I think that's been a good discussion. It's good to see. Let the audience see ourselves. This was not planned. No one's been paid. Both women,
just
different backgrounds, and they kind of support what Andrew says. So that shows that maybe the media are portraying lies and trying to cancel him for a reason. Who knows?
Yeah.
I know. Should I do it? Should I end the podcast? Exactly why they're trying to fucking cancel me. I'll tell you. They're trying to cancel me not because of the things I'm saying, because the things I'm saying are understood. In fact, in most of the world today, like you said, they're widely accepted. And even in the Western world, in the heart of the failed societies, 20 years ago, everything I say would be considered as a fact.
Yeah.
They're trying to cancel me not because of what I say, but because of the mass amount of influence I have.
Yeah.
They look at me and they say, young boys listen to Andrew more than they listen to all the other propaganda mechanisms we've constructed. They don't listen to the people in school who are telling them bullshit. They don't listen to the other YouTubers that we prop up that tell them bullshit. Yeah. They're listening to Andrew and they're thinking for themselves. And they're scared. This is the #1 demographic on the planet that the people in charge of the world are afraid of. Because when you send men to die in a ditch, You need young military-age males. And when young military-age males rebel against the system, that rebellion is a revolution. If thousands of men get in a group on the street, governments change.
Yeah.
Women get in the street, no one cares. Pink hats, don't give a shit. Not interested.
Yeah.
It's going to get cold, they'll go home.
Yeah.
But the men, it's different. And they're scared. They're scared of young military-age men uniting against the control mechanisms of the Matrix, and they see me as the person who's doing that. Aristotle had to kill himself. Socrates killed himself after being arrested. He was arrested for corrupting the youth by convincing them not to join the army. He ended up committing suicide. It's the same thing with me. They tried to cancel me because of my influence. So I'm saying this now so everybody knows at home that I would never, ever, under any circumstances, no matter what they say, kill myself. Ever! So
That's
we'll
hilarious.
see how it goes.
Did you know that I was in England recently? I used to be a teacher, but one of my teacher friends said to me, in PHSC lessons, which is like those they're teaching them not to listen to Andrew Tate.
Yeah, oh no, I know this.
Did you know that?
Sorry, someone
was
sent
so
me that. I thought it was a
shocked.
prank.
No,
No,
it's
she
real.
told me
Kids
in
are
the,
sending
she
it to
showed
me
me the
arguing.
lesson.
They're saying, can you say something? I'm like,
Yeah.
is this a Photoshop?
No, she showed me her lesson
You're in the
plan. It was
curriculum.
like how to.
I'm in the curriculum.
Come
Ignore
on.
this man. Ignore this man because this man.
Yeah.
And what do I teach? I teach personal responsibility, personal accountability, resist the slave mind, think for yourself, train hard. Like, what do I say that's negative compared to all of the music stars singing about drugs, rape, murder, kill?
Yeah.
Lil Nas is dancing on the devil in his music videos. All of this is fine, but when you come along and say think for yourself and don't accept the Matrix programming at face value, then you must go. Then you're an
Also-
enemy of the system.
Also, I just have to say, you're wrong about nothing happens if all the women go to the street, because y'all not gonna have anything to eat for dinner.
okay.
You know what I
It's
mean?
true, it's true. Sorry.
Anyway,
Yeah.
just also want to thank you,
Yeah,
Tam,
thank
so
you
much for
guys.
giving us a platform, and also, backing up your friend Andrew Tate.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm straight. We know each other a long time, and you can't sway. When men have, you can never, I've told Anna many times, or other people, give me $1 billion cash to denounce Islam, I won't. $1 billion cash, fill up this room. A lot of people will be like, you can never do it. You can never make me sway another way. And I've been like that, and he's like that, and that's why certain people get along, because you have the same kind
Have
of
you guys
thing.
known each other for a while?
Been around a circle.
Stop. How
Well, it was
long?
the 1960s.
What was he like before all of this?
He's always been around. I always see him popping up somewhere. Yeah? But you can tell a man's character when they fight. And I remember when I first saw him, he's younger than me. And he was lean and tall, and he fought a few of the tough guys on the circuit. And you could never beat, he'd always go to the end. Where the Iranian guy he fought, who was a notorious guy, Reza, he was on the streets wrecking, I don't want to say his name, in jail, feared, 6-second knockouts, and he was about 8, I don't know how old he was.
18.
18.
And I remember that fight because I was really sick that
Having
week.
a war with one of the toughest guys.
Not
only in
not
the cage.
professional fight, like
Professional.
Oh, professional.
But
Okay.
This guy was feared. Literally, this
Right.
guy fought Jimmy Manuwa, who was like a UFC fight on that level in those
Okay.
days. Ahead of his time, feared out of jail. Good friend of mine, but a complete nutcase. And he was hanging there, and you look at him, you think, no, what? This is a mismatch. And they're going to war. You'd have to kill him. Or make sense. I remember then, everyone would book him then, because when you see a guy in a fight, you can see a lot about him.
Right.
You can't hide under the lights of the ring.
Right.
There's an old saying, all the training comes out when you're in that ring. So you
Right.
can't be a world champion and be a clown, or it takes a lot of things. A lot of men will never understand or feel. And I always say to every man, you want to feel the ultimate feeling, apart from having kids, of course, but being a Muslim, but is winning a fight.
100%.
I don't care who you are. Money, drugs. You
Primal.
say it.
Really?
It's primal.
There's no
It's
feeling.
instinctive,
There's
right?
no
Right.
feeling to any man winning a fight. Put your hands up. The people. I'm not lying. It's from the beginning of time, from wars, from Khalid bin Walid to Genghis Khan to Alexander.
Power,
And
Napoleon.
losing has the same negative effect.
Negative
like,
effect,
it's
but
like
then
depression.
it's the hunger of going back.
Okay.
It differentiates the men from the boys as
Right.
well. But any man who steps in that ring or cage, you respect their warriors, because it takes a lot. We were saying that we went to an arena the other day to watch a game, but that feeling of you're backstage getting wrapped, you hear someone's been knocked out, you're next, the cheers, it's like this tunnel, it's like the Colosseum. Doesn't matter where you fight. And it's an alpha male thing, and that's why men and women are different. And to every guy out there, you have to experience it once.
Yeah.
It changes your life. Every man needs his ass kicked once in his life to be a man, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the guys who are cocky, stupid, and Larry, and all these guys who are against him have never had a fight in their life or been hit.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Speaking of the World Cup, I mean, we're talking about sports. It's happening now in Qatar. Do you think Cristiano is gonna retire?
I think for 4 million a week, no. For what I'm hearing in Saudi, and I think he can do what he wants. I respect
do
him. I
what you
like him
want,
as a man, legend of the sport. I think everyone's day comes in sport.
How old is he now?
37, 36, but for
seconds, yeah.
football, it's like Andrew. I get calls all the time, and I'm the one saying to him, don't fight. For what? You're a world champion. You're wealthy. Guys who fight are broke. I'm being honest. Like, it's a passion to an age, and then when you keep fighting, you
Then
see
it's
these
a paycheck.
ex-pros. It's a paycheck.
Yeah.
You can tell me all you want. They're fighting for a paycheck. You don't need
You
to.
lose your legacy like that.
It's not about legacy.
Yeah.
It's hard to wake up from silk sheets and go running in the morning. There's no
Yeah.
saying.
He's got 2 daughters. That legacy
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
that's
and
a beautiful legacy.
that's the thing. But Cristiano hasn't got nothing to prove. Now it's about business and money. He can do what he wants.
It's
But
not money,
Yeah.
for my point about the Qatar World Cup is the West is racist and biases. It's just got to
But
stop.
they showed themselves though, because so many positive things have come out of Qatar. They
Yeah.
showed themselves.
I think
I'm
that
glad
they're
that
an
they did
example.
this,
I
yeah.
think for now, Alcohol Stadium should be banned because
Yeah,
I was
me
there at a game, English and Welsh, you know, normally with cocaine and alcohol there, someone's getting bottled, headbutted, someone loses. There was no violence. Everyone got on.
Beautiful.
The place is safe, and I think that's a testimony to the GCC and the government of Qatar. Their stance, they stood firmly against that rainbow agenda. They took the stick, and I respect that. A lot of people would have caved in and gone, okay,
Yeah.
let's put flags everywhere, let's put rainbows, and let's
Yeah.
heal the world. They said no, and you know, the West can say what they want, but I respect them. As a
Yeah.
nation, I really...
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, 2 points about that. One, we just said it, or you just made the point earlier that by restricting things and removing things, life can be better if you actually place boundaries. And we just talked about it with the alcohol in stadiums. That's a perfect example of it. And also to tie into what we were saying earlier about agendas and how the Matrix are doing things on purpose. What the fuck has football got to do with this agenda they're trying
Yeah.
to push?
Insane.
They're
yeah.
completely unrelated. They've just taken something popular, the most popular sport in the world, and they've taken one of their agendas they've
Yeah.
tried, and they've just fucking stuck them together and said, fuck you. And it's
Yeah,
bullshit.
It's
garbage. It's
And the
insanity. It's nothing to
halftime-
do with each
yeah,
other.
the halftime will be spent talking about LGBT issues.
It's nothing to
insane.
do with each other.
I didn't even realize it was football on. I just thought it was an LGBT program.
Matrix
and then I realized,
programming.
yeah.
Matrix programming. They're trying very hard. Matrix programming. And like I
And they're winning in that regard. They've indoctrinated most of the world. But who's your money on today, Morocco or France?
I'm praying for Morocco.
Let's pray for Morocco. Can we pray
For sure.
for Morocco? Let's pray for Morocco. Inshallah.
Historical, but
Paris,
either-
listen, Paris is getting set on fire either. Paris is
Exactly.
burning.
For sure.
Let's
If you have a
not-
Lambo in Paris, put it in the
Oh,
garage.
I feel sorry
'Cause
for
that's- yeah,
Parisians
it's done.
tonight.
Yeah.
It's done.
It's
Marbella
gonna be a
was
nightmare.
lucky.
It's going to be a nightmare tonight. But
No.
inshallah, let's see. But it's
No.
still good that they got this far.
Oh, it's amazing,
amazing,
and
yeah.
even though football, we don't really care for football. Let's be
It's
honest.
not your sport, not your thing.
For me, individual sports, like we said, for me, the ultimate sport is fighting. From the beginning of time, for the Greco-Romans, Spartans, mano a mano. For me, that's the only sport. Football is good and things, but listen,
You
there's
can
no
take it or
sport
leave
like
it.
combat.
Of course.
And like when you're younger, like I remember I was young, you go to a club, yeah, there's like Ronaldo, Gaza, Lineker. But when Mike Tyson's sitting in a corner, everyone's like, wow,
Yeah.
alpha. He can beat everyone up. He's rich. It's Tyson. Ronaldo wants a selfie.
Yeah.
Khabib comes. There's a different...
All
any
the
man
mov-
who's
all the
watching...
movie stars go to the big boxing matches for
Yes.
a reason.
Yeah.
Every man watching or kid will say you can have any sports star. Djokovic, I mean, who cares? All right, nice guy, but Djokovic is over there. That's great. There's Mayweather. There's Khabib. Fighting has this thing as kids. We liked He-Man. We liked WWF. We liked Rocky Balboa. It's instilled in them since the day beginning of birth. So you can't change that.
Yeah.
As much as you want to push an agenda to wear a skirt or play with Barbie.
Yeah.
Men love He-Man. Tough to survive. I'm the hardest. Since in the back of school parks, you're fighting. I'm the strongest. I am headlock punching your brother.
Yeah.
And I know we're supposed to be wrapping up, but that is innate and it's biological, and that's what they're attacking. That's what's
Yeah.
happening here. They're trying to attack that and say that that's not the idea of masculinity. You don't have to be that way, etc. And the point I want to make about all of this, the final point about it, is how dangerous that truly is, because
Yeah.
this idea of masculinity being under attack and people saying that, men don't have to be real men. They don't have to stand up and do what they're supposed to do and have a hard time. They can be more emotional and be softer, etc. Do you know what you get when you get men who can't control their emotions? Violence.
Yeah.
Every school shooter, every fucking rapist, every
And
murderer.
Don't laugh, but you're
These are
spot
men
on
who
right.
cannot control their emotions.
You're
You
right.
tell a man, I say the part of being a man is acting the right way regardless of how you feel. Whether you're happy, sad, you have to act
Yeah.
like a man's supposed to because of your honor and duty. And society's saying, no, you can act how you feel as a man. That
Yeah.
creates murderous, rapists, school shooters, and idiots.
And domestic violence.
And
as well,
domestic
too.
violence.
Domestic violence is
She
the biggest
pissed you off.
consequence.
You better keep it
Punching her in
chill.
the throat.
You know
Yeah,
that.
it's like- it's
telling men
domestic
not to
violence.
control themselves. You can
Yeah,
see very how
that's-
quickly how society will degrade.
Yeah.
Very quickly. It's all garbage and it's done on purpose. And you wonder why crime rates are through the roof. And bro, shaitan. I'm never going back to the West. I'm staying here.
No, honestly, I think, you're right. You spotted those. The West doesn't like it.
Yeah.
The people that don't like it have an agenda. It's a fact, because I've gone through hours. I was thinking, what was so bad what he said? I literally had to look at everything they said. I was like, huh? Like, there's much worse, like you say. Cardi B's last song, going off topic, it plays on Chris Freida's Radio Virgin.
First thing in the morning.
No,
as
it's
well.
like, I am, everything's dubbed. Why are you playing the song?
Yeah.
No, listening to it on radio, it's all dubbed. That's how vulgar it is. And Western society said, we don't like gangs, we don't like violence, we don't like gun culture, but yet they'll pay millions of dollars for a rapper to come and perform on stage in England.
Yeah.
And they'll promote it. So you don't know what you're doing yourself.
Well, thank God for Dubai, I guess.
Alhamdulillah for
Dubai.
Islam.
Best city in the world. I was in London for 6 months over the summer, and I was literally
I'm
like,
sorry for you.
I was
apologize.
so depressed, and then as soon as I landed, I have to say this: Dubai is the best city. You love it, right?
Hands down.
It's the best. I can't believe I get to live here. I've been here a couple of years, and I still can't believe I get to live in such an amazing city. It's the best,
Hands down.
especially as a
that's
woman.
a testimony to the leadership.
Yeah,
you can have money, you
absolutely.
can have countries. Leaders make countries, leaders make
incredible.
cities, and his vision, he's made it a safe haven. It's safe, it's got money, it's got the best of everything.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, safety, the way to make money, the tax. I mean, I was in a restaurant the other day, I saw him. He has no security. You can greet him. You can't. If you saw Boris Johnson in a restaurant, he's going to have 5,000 people around him. People are going to shout wanker at him. No one cares for him. The sheikh drives around on his own, shakes hands with people, gives what you want. I've seen people go up to him saying, my wife's sick or I can't do this, and they look after you.
Yeah,
So that's why
it's
the people love him as a leader, because he looks after the people, hence the community's right, the safety's good, and you need more countries like the Arab
Dubai,
world
yeah,
in the
it's
world.
incredible.
I think the whole world will be better.
You nailed it.
Yeah, that's
You
exactly
spent
it.
6 solid months in London.
I know. I was so depressed. I couldn't believe this was my life. And as soon as I landed, like this, it was instant antidepressant. As soon as you land, so you don't have depression. You just live in London.
That's
Just
right.
move.
I'm not going to get into that one with him now about
Yeah,
depression,
you
because
don't-
people will come hit me with that
You
one.
don't have depression. Just move. Khayallah, come on. Let's just move. It's amazing.
Thanks again.
No, thank
Asali,
you
for coming.
guys. Thank
and our
you.
special guest. I wanted to do this purely because a lot of people say it's always guys. You always sit with the guys with Andrew. Say it's all guys, and wallahi, as a Muslim, nothing was pre-planned
Yeah,
here.
wallah.
I didn't tell him to say anything, and I just wanted to prove a point that it's all fake. Women also support the system. There are women out there who understand how life should be, and I think you guys should speak up more. You are, but I think they're not giving you a platform. But it's good to give you a platform and speak up more, because then they can't use the whole misogynist, sexist kind of angle, you know.
Yep.
So thank you
Thank
again,
you.
and
Thank you guys.
stay
Thank
tuned for the
you.
next
Thank
episode.
you.
Thank you.